My unit of study is informative writing, more specifically focused on animal reports. My targeted audience are second grade boys and girls. Writing standard is W.2. They are to write informative explanatory texts in which they introduce a topic, use facts and definitions to develop points, and provide a concluding statement or section. The learning goal is what I have visible for students on the board, what they see that their goal is. And I write that they can research an animal to write an informative piece, including a topic sentence, 4 facts with at least 1 definition, a concluding sentence, and provide text features to enhance writing. The context in which this will be taught in is inside the classroom, where students have access to Chromebooks for their research and writing. The majority of these lessons, you'll notice, can be taught during the writing block. However, some of the technology lessons can be taught at other times of the day. So lesson 1 is just introducing informative writing, what it means, what facts versus opinion means. It's important for students to know that informative writing is factual information. So in understanding that, they need to know that a fact is a statement that is true and can be proven, whereas an opinion statement is how someone thinks or feels. So we're looking for fact statements only in their writing, no opinions. This is a great video to show students on what facts and opinions are. Lesson 2 is introducing Google Classroom. Mini lesson I would start with how students log in, how they navigate Google Classroom, and how to just simply open up a Google Doc. A mini assignment here would be to open Google Doc, list the top 3 animals they'd like to research, and then turn in and submit their assignment. I chose Google Classroom because it's a great central location for students to have all their work stored in one place. And a lot of other web tools work with Google Classroom, especially their Google web tools. You'll notice that coming up. And I like Google Classroom as a teacher. I can see everything the students are doing, what they're turning in, what they're working on. Students can share with each other. It's just all around a great central hub. Lesson 3 is safe search engines and websites for kids. It's important when students are researching that they're in a safe place, especially with all that's out there on the web these days. So I want to teach my first lesson on how to find and use safe search engines. For example, Safe Search Kids is a great one, and Kiddle. I think a great way to do this is through a little scavenger hunt. You can give them a list of things that they are to search and find answers for within using those search engines. Next step, I would teach how to find and use websites to find more information on the animal that they're researching. For example, Encyclopedia of Life is a great resource to find information on animals. Also, Active Wild. It's an interactive online zoo for students. Lesson 4 is how to write an animal report. This is a great introduction video of how to do that. It kind of quickly goes through the writing process, which I will do so next. And how to form sentences, just kind of gets students brain juices flowing about the next step in their writing. So lesson 5 is the step 1 of the writing process. This is the pre-write. I would start off by introducing a video from Learn Zillion on how to group related information. So how students are grouping facts into a heading or a topic that later they will write into a paragraph. The next mini lesson is how to use Google Docs for taking notes. And I would then also teach a mini lesson on how to use MindMister for making a mind map. This is great because it's a Google tool, which then students can access this tool through Google Classroom. I chose Google Docs as like a note-taking place. There's a lot of different resources out there to use other tools, but I like that Google Docs, it works with Google Classroom. It automatically saves for students. They can find it all in one place using that hub, Google Classroom. And it actually allows students to conduct more research within the document. There is a search bar that they can just kind of add information into. It's just kind of all in one place, which is great. MindMister, I love this tool. I chose this tool because it's easy to use for students. It's accessible through Google Classroom. I like that it has a variety of multimedia, including like they can add text, images, icons, links, and attachments. But it's a great way for students to map out their writing and information and notes into like a web, which we've practiced earlier in the classroom. Lesson 6 is step 2 of the writing process. It's drafting. And so I'd start with a mini lesson of using transition words. Right here is a great anchor chart. And where those transition words go, there's a beginning, middle, and end, whether you're using a topic sentence, facts, or concluding sentence. Next, they would be preparing their rough draft. So I would do this with a hand copy first. They're writing it out with a pencil. They will be making 4 of these, 1 for each heading. So for example, the title here could be Habitat, and they have a topic sentence for Habitat, 4 facts, and a concluding sentence. And then their next paper would be for the next heading, Diet, and ongoing, we have physical characteristics and behavior. Students, after they finish these 4 hand copies, they will then type these into paragraphs into one Google Doc. Lesson 7 is steps 3 and 4 of the writing process. This is where students are going to revise and edit. First, starting with revising, students are going to reread their writing, or they can have a partner help them and read it as well. This is where they're going to focus on adding more descriptive words like adjectives. They're going to try out different beginnings and endings in their writing. If they notice that they're starting every sentence with bats, if they're researching bats, like bats are, bats have, that can be kind of boring. And so we want students to try out different ways to, like, sentence starters. Students are going to also add more details to their writing. I always try to challenge students to add 2 more details in the revising process. Step 4 is the editing process. This is where students are going to proofread their writing or ask a friend to proofread it for them. They're going to look for complete sentences, capitals, punctuation, and correct second grade spelling words. Also, any words that are part of the vocabulary for animal reports, such as diet, physical characteristics, behavior, normally not second grade words, but those types of words are vocabulary words that we're using that should also be spelled correctly because they would be visible on the board for them. Lesson 8, text features. This is one of the most exciting lessons I like teaching. So I'm going to start with a mini lesson of what copyright means and what Creative Commons means, and then teach students how to access Creative Commons images, such as through Pixabay and Open Clip Art Library. I chose Pixabay for my unit because it has so many free photos, abundance. It also has illustrations and videos as well. It's easy to use. for students, and it's there's a lot of photos that they can use for their animal report. I love open clip art, and this really comes in handy with their text features for their animal reports. I chose it because, again, it's super easy to navigate for students, and I like that it has vector clip art. So this is perfect for when they are choosing a photo that's for a diagram for their animal, and then they can go back and label it. You'll find a lot of diagrams on open clip art. Lesson 9 is step 5 of the writing process. This is the publishing stage. Now, in Google Classroom, they can certainly publish through Google Docs and turn it in that way. And I might still have students do that since they're already be doing a lot of their writing in Google Docs, and it's already ready to go. However, I want them to then publish in Storybird. This is a great online tool, and I specifically chose this web tool because of its high interest. Students, what they do is make little books. They can make their final copy books, and let me tell you, second graders love making little books. So I'd start out with a mini lesson on how to log in and navigate through Storybird, and then teach them that how to publish their writing. So students are to create an interesting title, they publish their writing, and add their text feature photos within. I also chose this web tool because of its sharing capabilities. As a teacher, I'm able to go in and create a classroom within Storybird. Students are then can upload their book and their story and share it amongst the classroom. So students can read each other's books and stories. I also like that students can share their story in their animal research project with their parents. Parents, if they want to, they can purchase the book, have it printed out and purchase it. But just their sharing capabilities here is really great. Lesson 10 would be presenting and speaking. I would use Google Slides for this. Again, it's just part of that hub of Google Classroom, makes it really easy for students to navigate and be on that central location. I would start with a mini lesson, how to start a Google slide and how to use it, that they can change how to add a slide, how to change text, add images, just kind of the basics to slides. Wouldn't go into too much detail. I would then do a mini lesson on the requirements and give an example for students. Using my own example I use every year is polar bears. So students would need to have 6 slides: a title slide, habitat slide, physical characteristics, diet, behavior, and a source slide. I think with second grade, the source slide needs to be pretty basic, maybe just a list of the websites or resources that they used. Again, it just kind of just gets them used to having a source page and using that. As they get older, they can get in more depth on how to appropriately source their resources. So these are all the different web tools that are within my writing unit. I'm excited to use this year in the winter, coming back from winter break with my students. We do animal reports every year in the winter. I've used some of these web tools in the past, like Google Classroom and Safe Search Kids, but I'm excited to use the rest of them. I'm really excited to use Storybird, My Mister, and some of those other resources, Creative Commons pictures, and teach them what that means. I hope you enjoyed this unit. Thank you for listening.